this loan and application includes the planning, the design, and the construction, and then the funds are available to draw from, and we don't start paying back until the construction is done.
But we're basically getting 2 for 1.
Yeah, at a it's a 50% debt forgiveness.
Debt forgiveness.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so that's fantastic. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, I just want to throw this out there. I know we've heard it already. It's not too often we can borrow money from our government at 0% interest and only have to pay half of it back. So it's a win-win for the town of Orange Park. So any other debate? Okay, I'm looking for a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion for approval of ordinance number 05-26.
I'll second the motion. Okay, I have a first and second. Any other debate?
No, sir.
I see none. Town clerk, please poll the council.
Councilman Taylor?
Aye.
Councilman Benefield?
Aye.
Mayor Anderson?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Sandlin?
Aye.
Councilman Vogel?
Aye.
Passes 5-0.
Got it. Thank you, Town Clerk. We're going to move on to item B, Johnson Slough Culvert Roadway Improvement Project, update number, no attachment, excuse me. And I'll turn it over to the town manager for an update.
Yep. I will go ahead and we have our representative from Jones Edmonds here, as well as our Public Works Director, Mr. Croce, and I will go ahead and hand it off to them to provide the update on where we are with that project.
Mr. Mayor and Council, I wanted to read through our update. Mary with Jones Edmonds is here to support and provide any answers to questions that you have as well. But I'd like to read through our update and provide you with that information. So tonight's update is brief. The project has reached a point where there's limited new information to present. The design plans are at 90%, and our engineering team has confirmed that the cost estimates provided during the workshop are the most reliable projections under the current conditions. Regarding cost, this is a practical limit of how precise, there is a practical limit of how precise these estimates can be. There's a lot of variables in today's construction market, including material costs, fuel prices, and ongoing supply chain instability. Subcontractors are not holding their pricing for extended periods. And further engineering, value engineering at this stage would require redesign and additional costs. For that reason, we believe the only way to gain a true cost certainty is to move forward to a guaranteed maximum price. Our design build team is coordinating with our engineering representative and owner's representative to bring back a GMP consideration for the May 5th meeting. And we will continue to reevaluate reasonable cost savings options. What was provided at our workshop was two options, really: a bridge construction and culvert construction. The average estimate for the construction of the bridge was estimated to be $14,435,236, with a low estimate of $12,269,951 and a high of $16,600,522. The culvert construction estimate was an average of $12,929,992, a low of $10,990,493, and a high of $14,869,491. So I'll provide that information to you, and it was provided at the workshop as well. The project is designed for flood mitigation for long-term roadway access with an expected service life of 50 to 100 years. The bridge option has higher upfront costs and provides greater long-term value, improved hydraulic capacity, lower maintenance, and reduced life cycle costs compared to the culvert. The project is at the base of the drainage basin and is a prerequisite for any effective upstream improvements. The town has secured approximately $7 million in state grant funding, which represents a significant opportunity to advance the project while reducing local financial impact. Moving forward in a direction to finalize and manage costs is our request at this time through the design-build process and align scope with actual construction conditions. Staff and engineering consultants continue to recommend moving forward with the bridge option based on long-term performance, resiliency, and fiscal responsibility. And we plan on returning on May 5th with the GMP, guaranteed maximum price, for council's consideration.
Okay, does anybody have any questions for Kyle before we have the engineer step up there?
So I fully support everything Kyle just said. The construction market right now is very uncertain. If we have to redesign it, you know, the culvert option may end up being as expensive as the bridge option is now, and that's a big push for why we really recommend you guys lock in the financing and the GMP. So.
I've got a quick question for you.
I got some questions.
The bridge on Plainfield, it's showing basically the middle of the bridge would be 9 feet. Is that, I know this whole project was being built on top of the 100-year flood plan. Is that part of the 100-year flood plan, that 9 foot?
It is. So basically, you have your floodplain, and then you've got some freeboard above that, because if there was something blocking the bridge, you still want the water to be able to get out. And that's for resiliency and just overall protection. And then you've got a couple feet of bridge slab, you know, the actual concrete portion of the slab. And so that 9 feet ends up being at the top of all of that.
Okay, so it's at the very top?
Yes.
Not the,
Not where it's
not where the water
open.
will go under?
Exactly.
Okay. I feel a little bit better there. Does anyone have any questions for the engineer?
I do, Mayor.
Go ahead, Councilman.
So I apologize. I didn't bring all my stuff, but I can tell you I am a no at 16 million, and I'm probably a no at 14 million. So we can talk about this over the next 2 weeks before the 5th, but
Oh, wait, hand me.
I'm a no. So, and I want to be a yes.
And before we bring the GMP to you, we are going to try to bring down the cost as much as possible. I know Superior has some ideas, but at this point, we've value engineered almost to the greatest extent as we possibly can. So, and I will tell you that even in the last month or so, with the gas prices going up, construction prices have gone up. So we're going to have to bring costs down just to keep it at that 14 million at this point. So we'll have more information for you for sure at the May 5th meeting.
Yeah, and there might be a war or two later this year, so it could probably be 20 million. I mean, that's not helpful to me, is what I'm saying.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions?
I do.
Go ahead, Councilman
Mayor.
Benfield.
If we've designed for bridges and culverts, can you choose one bridge and 2 culverts? I would guess there would be some additional cost because it's a different.
Yeah, any change in the 90% design, which are for the 3 bridges,
Okay.
would have to go back for
Okay.
redesign and re-permitting. So,
Culverts are an idea, but we would have to pay for the design of it.
correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay. Councilman Vogt?
No, at this point, I just welcome the GMP. We like it, love it, hate it. We got to see where it's at. And I probably know better than anybody about material escalation. So we got to see. I mean, we've been talking about this forever. And some of you have longer than forever. So we got to see. And I understand that what was designed, these are the options. And of course, in a perfect world, you would a la carte options. But those are big machines and big designs, and you just can't do that in that world. But bring it, and let's see where we're at.
Okay. Vice Mayor, do you have anything?
No, I think everyone's commented what I would be saying, so thank
Okay.
you.
All right. Got it. Thank you so much. Okay. Okay, we're going to move on to item 7C, tree removal, pruning service contract approval, and I'll turn it over to town manager for an update.
Yep, this is a, 3 different contracts ultimately that we are looking to seek approval for. And it's for 3 different tree companies. We sent an invitation to bid, and you can see through the process that 5 companies had responded. And the idea was to spread it out between 3 different options. The first one being primarily Big Branch Tree Service. They're going to do a bulk of the work in that capacity. And then we have a secondary option that will help kind of facilitate them for a lower amount. And then there's a final option in case of an emergency that we can call in hand. Again, they did an invitation to bid. We got 5 responses, and we went with those 3 that we thought would be allowed to give us some leeway and ability to flexibility in how to process and get the work done effectively. So if you have any questions, our Public Works Director, Kyle, is here. He can answer those as well.
Okay, does anybody have any questions for the town manager? I see none. Okay, I'm looking for a motion.
Your Mayor, I'd like to make a motion for, if I'm understanding correctly, for approval of entering into agreements with Big Branch Tree Company, Egerton Tree Service, and Tronco's Land and Tree Service.
And
Second.
Okay, I have a motion. I have a second on the floor. Is there any debate? Okay, I've got a couple questions for Mr. Croce. These are, I'm going off a couple phone calls I received today about this contract. One of the questions was, if we're removing a tree and Big Branch is removing it, are they required to go through EQB if it is an oak?
They are required to go through EQB on live oaks at a certain size, so yes,
Okay.
that's correct. If it's included in a project, that's, obviously the project is approved by council, and they wouldn't need to follow the EQB process, like a single removal of a tree, unless council would want us to go ahead and follow that process as well.
Right. Well, the only reason I'm bringing up, this individual was concerned, seems like there's a lot of tree cutting on the weekends, and they were just trying to make us aware of it and make sure that we are going to follow EQB when it comes to a live oak being cut down, as far as with Big Branch.
Yes, sir.
I understand about the project thing.
Yeah, Public Works is not cutting trees.
No,
on
I
the
understand
weekend,
that.
but
I understand that. Residents of our town are.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and we rely quite heavily on some of the residents to report that to us, and we do go out there and assist with code as well when we do find that situation.
okay. That's all I have. Anybody else have any questions for Mr. Croce? Okay, thank you.
Wait, Mr. Mayor, something just occurred to me. I want to make it clear. The tree service doesn't go through AQB. Public Works goes through AQB before they contract with the tree service for removal of a live oak. Is that correct?
Yeah, yes, and the contractor would not come in. We would as
We
the.
would.
Yes.
Okay.
Most of the time, we use these contractors for trimming as well, and any hazardous limbs that are hanging in the right-of-way, imminent danger issues like that. But yeah, to cut down one of the historic live oaks, Public Works would come to EQB, yes.
Got it.
I just want to clarify that. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, I have a motion on the floor, a second. Town Clerk,
Mayor,
did you have a question?
there was a concern about just the original motion.
So there's actually 3 companies there.
Yeah.
So there's Big Branch, there's Egerton Tree Service, and Tronco's.
I think he only stated 2 companies.
Did he say? I thought I only heard 2. So. He said 3. Okay, my apologies.
Town Clerk, will you read the motion back, please?
The motion was to the approval of entering into agreements with Big Branch Tree Company, Egerton Tree Service, and Tronco's Land and Tree Service.
Okay, got it. Okay, all 3 are there. Okay, any other questions?
No.
Okay, Town Clerk, poll the council.
Councilman Vogel?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Sandlin?
Aye.
Mayor Anderson?
Aye.
Councilman Benefield?
Aye.
Councilman Taylor?
Aye.
Passes 5-0.
Okay, going to move on to item 7D, landscape maintenance contract and transition, and I'll hand it over to the town manager for an update.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, so what this is a request for is to allow us to enter into a negotiation for an extension of our current contract just for a 6-month period. The idea behind that is with all of the current uncertainties from, property tax reform and those items, we currently outsource this, and it's a pretty hefty contract. It's about $178,000 a year. That being said, we do receive some money from FDOT to help offset some of that cost, but through our conversations with Public Works and looking at efficiencies and trying to see where we can maximize not only our staff efficiency and usage, but also to make sure that the money kind of, we're able to keep account of it in a better manner. My recommendation is that we negotiate a 6-month contract with them until we can then transition over to our own staff through mowing and that capacity. Again, with all the pressures, we think this is a better way to, ensure that we, continue to get the work done on a regular place to maximize utilization of our staff, and that as well as minimizing outsourcing and a savings in that capacity. We already have the staff on hand, and so the idea would be to then purpose them into this type of situation. So this would allow for that negotiation over a six-month contract and then make the transition into our own in-house staff to do the rest of the maintenance in that capacity. Mr. Croce is here and can answer some more specificities if you do have them, but that would be my request.
Okay, does anybody have any questions for the town manager? Okay, I'm looking for a motion.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion, got a few minutes here, to authorize the town manager to negotiate a 6-month contract extension with United Landscape Services through December 31st, 2026, and contingent upon the passage of the November 2026 property tax reform. Direct Public Works staff to transition all landscaping for town hall and designated medians to in-house operations effective January 1, 2027.
Okay, I have a motion on the floor. I'm looking for a second.
Second.
Okay, let's bring it back for debate. I'll go ahead and kick it off. Mr. Croce, I've got a couple questions for you. Okay, if we bring this in-house, are we going to need more employees?
Mr. Mayor, Council, no, that's not the strategy at this point. We want to do it with in-house staff, understanding that they have a lot of work at the parks and the facilities as well, but we'd like to work with more of the volunteers and more of the other organizations to help in that respect. But at this time, no, we would not plan on hiring additional personnel.
Okay, my next question would be, going from a contractor back to our hourly employees, what kind of rate of return are we looking at? Are we going to save money by doing that, or are we going to spend more money?
Well, now it's all spent, so we would basically do a return on investment, but we would have to do the analysis on how much we're spending. Right now, we would plan on utilizing 2 personnel, and if the funding that we receive from the state covers that, it's a benefit to us, and then we wouldn't have to pay the local share that we currently pay for United Landscaping Services. So the idea is to have the funds that DOT provides us cover the costs, but we'll get into that more when we see the results.
Okay, my next question would be equipment. Are we equipped, or are we going to have to purchase equipment to take over this service?
We will probably look at purchasing 2 stand-up mowers in the budget process, and we'll go to the council's workshops and request that.
And you're looking at what? That's probably about a $10,000.
They're $11,000, $12,000 a piece for the stand-up mowers.
All right, so you're talking about $22,000.
Yes.
Up as an upfront. Then we need to maintain.
Maintain. We keep them for about 6 years. and then we trade them in or auction them and buy new ones.
Okay, that's all I have. Does anybody else have any questions for Mr. Croce?
Yeah, go ahead, then.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Croce, the current annual contract, is that contingent on us using contractors, or can we
It is
do that
not.
ourselves?
It is not. We're not required to use a contractor.
Okay. And then in the motion that we made, it was contingent on the passage of the property tax reform. So hypothetically, if it doesn't pass, what does that look like?
That would be something that we would bring back to council to decide if we still wanted to move in that direction or come back with an extension to the contract with United Landscaping or go out for RFP. So we would look at November timeframe when the contract extension, 6-month contract extension is up or coming up and come to council and discuss that.
No, that's all that I have.
Okay, Vice Mayor?
Mr. Croce, when we have two people, we talked about the additional cost of 2 mowers. Because the cost is significantly higher than what you're talking about doing it internally with internal staff, what are we giving up in service that our people won't be able to do?
I think that we would see what type of service, level of service that we'll be able to provide with the rest of the facilities, with the rest of the parks. Obviously, I'd like to maintain all the parks at their current level, but with reduced manpower at those specific facilities, we may rely on, like I said, talking to some volunteers because we have a great volunteer system here at the town, and maybe they can help us out. They've helped us out this past weekend with the fencing and with trash. So we want to look at that specifically for parks, not for the median or the roadway or right-of-way.
Are we giving up in the medians anything? Like right now, that company goes out a couple of times a year and does the weed eating and, pull up weeds and sometimes replanting and what's involved with, would we still be able to do all of that?
We would, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
We would do the weeding, we would do the mowing, the trimming of the trees to the required height levels that DOT has in their guidelines. We also want to look at some of the ends of the medians, and some are very difficult to keep, regardless of whether it's a contractor or us. And some of it's dangerous, especially at this intersection of Kingsley and Park. So we want to look at maybe there's a more efficient way at the end treatment of the median that may be lower maintenance costs.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Councilman Benfield?
I like saving money, so if we can do that and put some people to work, I'd rather do it in-house. I wonder what the argument was for outsourcing and when it was outsourced.
It's been a contract since I've been here, so I don't know. We had when I got here, we did have an RFP for to go out for United. I think we had Brightview before, but United won was the lowest successful bidder on this last contract.
Okay, Councilman Taylor, anything? Okay, I've got one more question. Just what I'm hearing here. We want to do this because of the possible rollback of property tax. I guess my view on this, we should be doing this to save money for our residents. Our taxes should have nothing to do with it. If this is going to save money for our residents, this is the right thing to do. I don't want to do it because we might be a possibility of rolling back taxes and then go back and go, oh, you know what, maybe a contractor's the way to go. Either we're going to do it or we're not. And if this is going to save money, you have my support. My question is, how much is it going to save? And if we switch over to this, I will not support going back to a contractor.
I think there's a few things, like now the contract, I believe it's in about $160,000+ a year. And we get, through our agreement with DOT, I believe we get $66,000.
That is correct.
So there would be cost savings again on how many people we dedicate to maintain that level of service in the medians, on their annual salary and benefits. And if there would be there obviously is going to be a cost savings, but I believe that the argument was, level of service. And that may be something that we need to discuss with the parks. But again, like we had talked about, if we could get volunteers to help with the parks as well, and keep that level of service up, that's the goal.
Okay. Anything else from anyone?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to offer an amendment to this action, and that is to say, remove the language and contingent upon the passage of the November 26 property tax reform.
Okay, would you say your amendment again?
I would like to amend this action, this motion, to remove the language and comma contingent upon the passage of the November 2026 property tax reform.
Okay. I have a motion on the floor. That is a motion.
As a motion, as an amendment, yes, sir.
Okay, as an amendment, yes. So I have a first and I have a second. Any debate for this change? Okay, Town Clerk, poll the council for the amendment.
Councilman Benefield?
Aye.
Councilman Vogel?
Aye.
Councilman Taylor?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Sandlin?
Aye.
Mayor Anderson?
Aye.
Passes 5-0.
Okay, now we're going back to the first motion, and that is for the contract. As amended, yes. Which I have a motion and a second on the floor, but it's going to be a motion as amended. Is there any other debate before we move on? Any questions?
Just a comment.
Okay, go ahead.
I think it's the right move. I think anytime you hear people come up there or talk, or you're out in the streets, the town always did it better. And whether it's medians, trash, whatever it is, and I like that we're getting to the point of, when you answer the question, well, this is just the way it was. And so I think the fresh eyes are bringing it back to say, you know what, we can be more efficient. And so I welcome our public works to do it. I know how hard they work, and I also welcome you to be fiscally responsible to get it done. And so I love the volunteers, but there's going to be an onus for you as well. And so I'm excited to see that. And right, I'm excited that we're gonna get our money's worth out of our people again and make our town what it was, and all of our people that remember that. So I'm excited. That's why I asked the question about the property taxes. Regardless, we should be doing anything that we can in-house. And so that's all that I have.
Okay, anything else? Okay, Town Clerk, poll the council for the motion as amended.
Councilman Vogel?
Aye.
Councilman Taylor?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Sandlin?
Aye.
Councilman Benefield?
Aye.
Mayor Anderson?
Aye.
Passes 5-0.
Got it. Thank you, Town Clerk. Okay, item E, announcement of resignation of the town manager, and I'll turn it over to the town manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll just go ahead and read my formal letter, and then I'll go into a little bit after that. But, dear Mayor and Council, please accept this letter as my formal resignation from my position with the Town of Orange Park, effective Thursday, May 28th, 2026. And this was not an easy decision. The combination of actions being taken potentially at the state level, the state of Florida level, and the increased hardship that this has created for my family has led me to conclude that it is in the best interest of both my family and the town for me to currently step away from this role. I'm deeply grateful for the opportunity to serve the town of Orange Park and for the relationships built during my time here. I will remain committed to help ensure an orderly and professional transition over the coming weeks. I thank you for your trust and your support that you've extended me. That being said, this was a decision that has been weighing on my mind, since a lot of the continued activity at the state level. And while I understand that we are still waiting on ultimate decisions on where that will go, it's become clear that from an uncertainty level, my family was not comfortable uprooting from their home in Iowa at that point, and we just came to the decision over the Easter weekend that it was something we needed to make that transition back home. I want to stress and I want to emphasize from the bottom of my heart that while there are wild thought processes that you see out on things like social media, that this is entirely a family decision. This is the impact that this has had. The stress that this has potentially put on my family has led to this decision. It would have been far easier for me to make this decision if there was a situation where the staff and I were not working well together. I can't say enough good things about the reception that the staff has given me. I believe that we have been, in a very short period of time, we have made impacts at Town Hall that have been very reflective of my approach, but also their willingness to put in the effort and to put in the time and to accept my approach and my philosophy. Town Council, I can't say this enough. Thank you. You have been exemplary in how to allow me to put my processes into work. This has nothing to do with the way you manage the town, the way that your operations are here. If anything, you exceeded my wildest expectations of that situation. And it's always tough bringing in a new town manager, especially one you guys took a risk, and I greatly apologize that it hasn't worked out the way that we had seen. This was my intent, was to stay here long term. But unfortunately, due to situations that none of us had anything to do with or any control, I was, in essence, made to kind of make that decision. And it's just better than, rather than prolong the situation, is to head back to Iowa at this point at the end of May. So please accept my sincere apologies that it didn't work out the way we wanted it to. But I couldn't be happier with in the short time that I've been here, the progress that we have made. Staff has accepted, the way I do things. I'm not your conventional town manager, and I look forward to helping in the transition, and will be available, during my time as well as after to ensure that Orange Park is as successful as they can be. And I firmly believe with this council and with the staff that is absolutely where we're headed.
Okay, I know we're going to discuss this again, but I have to say, I've worked for 2 permanent town managers. One was Sarah Campbell, who was outstanding, and I have to put you in the same category with her. You're outstanding. You came in, you brought this town together, you got the staff back on board, because we were a year without a town manager. I am saddened that you are leaving. You were that inspiration that we were looking for a whole year, and it just now I have 2 people that I have to compare to, and it's going to be rough for these town managers coming in here, I'm telling you that. So again, we'll talk about more about this, but you will be missed, and that's enough for now. But we're going to go on to item E, item A, interim town manager, just to get thoughts of how we want to move. And I'll kick it off. We've gone a multiple directions when we found Joe. And one of the directions I didn't like. If all possible, I would like to find an interim town manager that is already on staff instead of looking for someone, because now we have to train 2 people, the interim and then the permanent. So, plus, I do not want to put staff through what we did last year with the interims coming in and not understanding our staff. And I think when we look for a manager this time, we need to have our staff at the top of the list on how they're going to work together, and then, okay, how are we going to move the town forward? But that's just my thoughts, and the table is open to hear from everyone.
All I'll say is I've enjoyed working with you, Joe. I enjoy getting to know you. I enjoyed your professionalism. I thought you brought a lot of good ideas to the table. I'm sorry to see you go. I would echo the mayor's comments about Sarah Campbell and you, and I think it's going to be tough to replace you. But I wish you all the success in the world, when you get back there and get back with your family. And I think that's a wonderful thing, too. As far as the interim town manager goes, I guess we're not talking about the permanent one at this point. I think we should start looking at what we have around here while we try to figure out what to do next. Yes. And that's all I have.
Okay. Councilman Benefield?
Sure, thank you, Mayor. It snows in Iowa. I think it's cold up there for like a long winter. I've really enjoyed your fresh take on everything. Yeah, I don't want to have to train two people again. Try to train two people again. If we had somebody that had knowledge of the organization, that would be good for me.
Okay. Vice Mayor?
I don't know what I can add to this that everyone else so far hasn't already said, except you know that I was devastated when you told me. I am, because you have made an impact on all of us and on the attitude of helping people come together. And Mr. Taylor, thank you. You're going to be missed. And you did a short time. You're still here. And he's still working hard, everybody, because I talk to him a couple of times a week about different matters. And moving forward and active. He's not signed out. And you won't be forgotten by us for sure. Thank you for what you're doing for us and have done for us, for this town. As far as the interim town manager goes, yes, we need to move. I'll just go ahead and say this publicly. We're all family here, right? I don't know if anybody on our staff is going to be willing to step up and do it after the difficult year they had last year. But maybe someone will be willing to steer the boat until we can hire a permanent manager. And we just have to be committed to do that as soon as possible.
Okay. Councilman Bode?
Well, I do have a lot to say. Let me say this. I think at the end of the day, I understand where your mind was at. And it wasn't necessarily a business decision. It was a family decision. Mm-hmm. And who are we to say any different? I mean, you got to do what's right by your family. And I waited a long time for you. It was a breath of fresh air. I enjoyed the business mindset because it's just a different way of looking at things. And I think that as a council, as a community, we've learned a bunch of different things of what we want and what we don't want. And as we went through that initial process, I did ask who's on staff, because any good organization has a succession plan. And I'm excited to see what's out there. Maybe staff has said, you know what, I think I can do this. And so, I'd love for an interim to turn into a permanent, if that's an option. But I also look long-term, because if this property tax things happens, you got to have the right person in place to say, what does it look like for the town of Orange Park in the future? And so, while it was a big ask to come from Iowa, the future ask of this potential role could be even bigger, because there are tremendous uncertainties right now at the state level. And so projections, that person has to understand those projections. And so please stay as long as you can. You know, maybe the 29th, like May 29th. Give us one more day. But keep in mind, there's been some great things, and length of time does not define what success is.
That's right.
And so, you know, I'm excited for you to get back to your family. They need Dad, and so I would never fault anybody for that. So, staff, yes, absolutely. Looking towards the staff and see what's out there and see who's interested. And but I can tell you, moving forward, I know what I'm going to be looking for, and we know what we want. We know what we don't want, and so I just ask that we keep that top of mind. That's all that I have.
Okay, how do we want to move forward with this? Sounds like everybody is in agreement with looking for an internal candidate, but we also need to consider what happens if we don't get one. So we need to kind of do two lines here. Look for an internal and maybe reach out to the president of the, I guess it's called president of the Town Manager Association.
Yeah, the FCCMA.
Yes.
Yeah, which we.
And maybe see what they have for a working list of who is looking.
Yep.
As far as to get us started for the interim. Does everybody agree with that, or
I have a
get
comment.
it going two ways here and at least get the list?
We can get the list. I mean, I've got some ideas of who I would recommend for an interim manager, but this is probably not the time for that.
Right.
And so if we want to set it for the 5th and see what the list has,
Yeah.
I think that's good.
List, and then maybe internal candidate might step up.
And maybe
Yeah.
the appropriate internal candidate
Yeah.
may step up too.
So is everybody
Right.
good with that plan?
Can I,
Town attorney?
through the mayor to the council, just when you say internal candidate, are you talking department heads? Or are you just opening it up to any town employee? Just be clear about that.
It should be a department head.
Point number one.
Yes.
And then point number two, some of your department heads, and we had this discussion the last go-round.
Right.
For legal reasons, dual office holding. So I just want to prepare the council.
Right.
You might say department heads, but there may only be 2 that are even eligible.
Understand.
To be a town manager, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Interim.
Okay.
And I think the local community can provide, I mean, it doesn't just, well, I will go a little bit further. I think I think there's some fine people. I think there are excellent people who are employees and department heads for this town. Everybody has their own needs, their own things that they need to address. But I would also say, I think there is some great local talent meeting in Clay County who could make excellent interim managers. And, maybe we should, not just restrict it to employees or department heads, but perhaps at least to Clay County people who may be interested in such a position, without mentioning any names or anything like that at this point.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor,
Vice Mayor.
I would just hope that we would first consider and determine whether or not there's a department head that would be interested and willing to do this and able to do it. based on their job description and requirements. And then if that doesn't work, then we expand to some multiple ways, either locally in Clay County and or through the Florida City Managers Association. And those would all be external.
Okay, just so I'm hearing this correctly, we're good with looking for an interim within our staff, our supervisory staff, department heads. We're also looking to possibly get the list from the Town Manager Association and make it open to someone local within our community as far as Clay County.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying this is my position, but I'm just saying I think it would be good to go ahead and look within our community as well. I mean, I remember, we all remember those long 14 months, and and I think there's some great people here who are department heads who could serve as interim managers. But I also remember clearly that those are two jobs, is what they are. They're two very distinct jobs, and you can work every weekend trying to do both of those jobs. And so maybe somebody wants to do that, or maybe we want to go through that again. I remember us having quite a few meetings that went very late into the night as we're all trying to juggle all those things. And I'm just saying, I think it would be, it couldn't hurt to have all of those people within the community as well as along with the list from the FCC, whoever these people are, FCCMA, as well as the town department heads.
Yeah. Okay.
So through the mayor, just to remind you, Joe's resignation date is the 28th, so that means you have 2 council meetings in May. You can, of course, always call a special council meeting, but, when Sarah was here, specifically what she did was, as I recall, is she went to the list and sort of culled that and brought recommendations to you, which might be a good idea to do that here, because otherwise, if you're going to, open it up to the entire community, then that begs, what's your process? Are you going to post something, or are you individually just going to somebody and saying, hey, are you interested? Put your name in the hat. I mean, I think there's a threshold determination that you need to make. I mean, with the list, Joe can cull through that. Clearly, by the next meeting, you're going to know which department heads are interested, so those 2 things are easy. But that third one, I don't think you're suggesting an application process. Are you? If you are, that takes a bit longer, of course. Are you just suggesting each of you just reach out to a leader in the community to see if they're interested and send their resume to Joe?
Or a leader in the community could put their name on that list.
Or reach out to Joe, yeah, and say, hey, I'm interested.
They could reach out to, not to me. Don't call me. But,
It's okay, it's not.
But talk to Joe, or talk to these FCCMA people, is what I would say. I mean, I don't know what it takes to get on that list, but I would think you could be a rear admiral and be on that list if you so chose. Maybe not.
No, yeah, you have to be a member. Joe can explain.
Yeah, so the FCCMA is a professional organization that's Florida-based. It's a subdivision, basically, of what's called the ICMA, which is the International City County Managers Association, kind of a governing professional organization. So in order to be a member of FCCMA or ICMA, you have to be a previous or an active town manager, city administrator, that type of situation. So what we would do, and what, if the council would oblige, I can contact the FCCMA, get a list of active people who are looking, and they have a list, and then I can make contact with those individuals. I can have conversations with them, and then we can bring a list of potential, options for you to consider, and we can kind of go from that route. We can certainly also say that if there is interest, they can send me that capacity, but I would, if the idea is to find in the immediate, right, there's probably a very short list of managers who are available or are looking for a temporary position. Sometimes you have managers who are retired who are looking for that bridge gap type situation, and giving my personality and what we, you know, it seems that you have been gracious to accept my style, finding somebody who has something similar maybe in that process, who knows. But that would be the immediate, would contact FCCMA, get a short list. I can go through that and see if those are things that I think would work well to make recommendations to you, and then we can go from there.
Okay.
Yeah, and you're looking for, through the mayor, Joe, to also include those resumes so that you have some objective, something that you're looking at. So just make sure we're on the same page. Next meeting, you'll have some resumes from people, right?
That would be the plan.
Council.
Correct.
Okay. Sounds good.
Sounds good to me.
Okay.
Okay, that's for the external piece. Are we going to still try for an internal
Well,
director?
yes, we're going to work it together.
Okay, thank you.
But let's go ahead and get a motion on the floor for that, so we give some direction here.
Is it possible to say, I make a motion to do all that, or do I need to really describe it? Or, no, okay, I tried. Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we approach the interim town manager, open interim town manager that's going to be a required position in 2 venues. We first work with the town manager to talk with department heads to see if anyone would be willing to do this job or interested in doing this job on an interim basis, and notify us. And then we have the town manager contact the FCCMA, is that correct? To get a list of people who may be interested in being an interim town manager, who in fact are members of that organization and former city town managers.
Okay, I have a motion on the floor.
Is that satisfactory?
I'll second that.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, give it a check. I think it's just that last part, former city town managers. I don't think.
Isn't that what you
council
said
members-
is a requirement?
No, it's
Oh.
to be a member of FCCMA, yes.
Right.
So you were not meaning to include Taylor's general community
Not-
leaders and
okay, well then I'll go back and amend my, rephrase my motion then. Can you take your second back?
I'll take my second back.
Okay, because I'm not sure what I've already said. And also to include anyone in the community who is interested in applying for the interim town manager to go through Mr. Taylor, Joe Taylor.
There you go.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, a motion, a second. Any other discussion? Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I'm understanding the timeline. So we have a meeting on the 5th. I'm going to bring this back. Second meeting would be on the 19th. Is that when we're looking to make a decision at that time? Because that would give them
Okay.
9 days with.
When I look at this, we need to know our direction on the 5th.
Right, so we're bringing people and resumes and making a decision?
Well, and that's where, let the town manager do his thing, and if we need to call a special council meeting, we will.
Right.
But we don't want to drag into mid-May. We need to make our decision and get our interim town manager into the loop early,
Yes.
because,
No, I agree. I just
Yeah.
didn't see any other way but a special meeting.
yeah, yes.
Yep.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, town clerk, poll the council.
Councilman Benefield?
Aye.
Councilman Taylor?
Aye.
Mayor Anderson?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Sandlin?
Aye.
Councilman Vogel?
Aye.
Passes 5-0.
Okay, going to move on to item E, item B, the search firm. And you said you have them on Zoom?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
You have video too?
We do have video.
Great. Hello, Mayor Anderson, Town Council. I'm Jeff Durbin. I'm here representing Colin Banziger and Associates. And first of all, I'm sorry to hear you'll be going through another transition. I know that's difficult, and I appreciate the approach you're taking moving forward. And I want to let you know that we're here to help. We're proud of our relationship with the town of Orange Park, and I'm here to report that you have our warranty and we will honor the tenets of that warranty. Colin Banziger and Associates offers one of the best warranties in the industry. We can offer that because we have confidence in our work. Provided we conduct a full search, phases 1 through 5, and the city follows our recommendations and selects from among the candidates we recommend, we warrant the following. We will not approach the selected candidate for any other position as long as the individual is employed by the city. Number 2, and this is an important one, if the selected individual leaves for any reason other than an act of God within the first year, CB&A will repeat the search for the reimbursement of our expenses only. Third tenet, if you're not satisfied with the candidates we present, CBA will repeat the search until you're satisfied. I think that you've had some experience there. And the fourth is our price is guaranteed and will not be exceeded for any reason, even if conditions change after the contract is executed. You'll note that we state that if a candidate leaves within year 1, we will repeat the search for the reimbursement of our expenses only. This means you can expect the same level of service and materials at our costs only. Our costs in this scenario would encompass updating the recruitment brochure, executing outreach and advertising, staff hours dedicated to preparing candidate reports, background checks, and the like, and our firm's travel accommodations. The only additional cost to the city would be bringing the finalists to Orange Park for the final events and interviews. To move forward, I understand you want to be prompt with this, and we've had some initial conversations about a schedule. We could start with this work as soon as the end of this month, the very end of this month, and that would get us through, without going through the details of the schedule, get to interviews and selection mid-August, maybe the 13th and 14th, and your August 18th meeting would be a target that we've looked at. That's preliminary. We'd have to talk it through, but we're trying to move expeditiously, understanding that's important to you. With that, I'd be happy to address any questions.
Okay, I've got one quick question for you. When we bring another new town manager on board, does a year warranty start over? Or does it pick up where?
Can you ask that again? I missed the end.
Okay, we bring a new town manager on board, does a year warranty start over? Will we have 12 months with that town manager?
Correct, yes, correct.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for him? Go ahead.
Yes, just a quick one. Can you give a estimate of what the cost only would be without your fees?
Yeah, sure. It'll vary. I'd estimate somewhere between 10 to 12, maybe $8,000 to $12,000. Given this is a pretty recent search we just went through with y'all, it might be as high as 15, but I think it'd probably more likely be in that $8,000 to $12,000 range.
Okay, thank you.
Of course.
Okay, anybody else have any questions?
May I ask you a question based on Councilman Taylor's prior question? What you talked about in our expenses are the expenses to bring the candidates here, is that correct? From out of town? Or is it for your staff to come up here? Because we paid for them to come here last time.
Well, it'd be both. There would be some travel expenses for CBA staff as well as the candidates, as far as travel expenses.
Okay.
So both.
Both. And I'm trying to figure out how we're getting to the 10 to 12K when those both travel. We paid for the travel expenses for them to come last time. The town did. But there were expenses for you all to come that were included in the fee.
Correct.
What else
Correct.
is included in that $8,000 to $12,000?
What else is in there is updating the brochure, doing all the advertising, pushing that out, spreading the word through all of our networks. And one of the things that we're really proud of is the background research that we do. We vet these candidates. We do a full vetting of all the candidates. You'll get those reports. They're very extensive. Maybe 30 pages per candidate on their background, everything they've been through. You've seen some of our work in this aspect before. That's the biggest chunk of the time.
Okay. Thank you. That's what I thought.
Any other questions?
That's what I was envisioning. Thank you.
Okay, this is not for you, this is for the council. I want to say the brochure stated you have to have a master's. I guess where I'm going with this, should we look at, hey, yes, you can have a master's or so many years' experience? And I'm just wondering, will that open the field to have a bigger pot to choose from?
Yeah, I mean, I think to the mayor, to the council, that's your policy call to make in consultation with the search firm. So that's certainly something in this new restarted process you can do.
Right.
I like it. Your suggestion.
And I just want to see what the council thinks here, because, I mean, I learned a lot off the last one. You know, I'm not saying anything bad about education. Just because you have a master's doesn't mean you're the right person for the job. And I think we need to be able to go, you have a master's or you have 10 years experience, they should level out. And
Right, through the mayor, it might be wise, just between now and the May 5th meeting, you take a look at that. Maybe the search firm can recirculate what you had.
Okay.
And then you can get your comments to the search firm and maybe make that decision at your May 5th meeting.
looks like you have something to say.
Yeah, if I could, Mayor, that would be one of the first things that we would work through with you, is having, you may recall, one-on-one conversations that you had with our representatives last time. We would go through something very similar, not as extensive, but we would check in with all of you. I heard some comments earlier about things you've learned about, attributes and candidates that might affect your decisions. Now, we'd want to hear all those things from you and gather that consensus, and that'd be one of the first things that we would start doing at the end of this month, beginning of May, is getting with you and trying to get that consensus on where things are at. And certainly, a bachelor's versus a master, you open up more candidates, but we always have that language about, equivalent experience, or a master's is preferred, those type of things. So we can work with you on that language.
Okay.
And I'd also add that if there's anything we can do to help you with, your process going through, selecting an interim, we could have a call with Joe and talk through some of our experience as well. Happy to do that.
Everybody good with that? Hills? We'll start looking at the brochures and get everything to start to move.
I think that's great.
Councilman Benfield, you good? You good?
I agree.
Town manager, any input?
I would welcome the possibility of utilizing them to assist with a call for a possibility of an interim as well as FCCMA.
Okay, got it. That sounds like a plan.
Great.
Okay, any last questions? I do want to just say one thing, and I know we're not to that point. Keep in mind, we are looking at a possibility of our property tax going away. So when we get to the money portion, we need to be looking at everything as far as the money side of it. And make sure we're doing the right thing for our residents when it comes to the money. Okay. Okay, anybody have any last minute things?
No, sir.
Okay, got it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Look forward to working with you again.
Yes. Okay, we're going to move on to item 8, reports, comments, and town manager.
Yep, I just have some shout outs on staff. We had a very busy couple weeks in that capacity. My first kind of thank you and kind of kudos would be to Assistant Chief Monroe. When Chief Case was on an extended vacation, we had some things come up and just, some accidents and items that kind of took on a quasi-life of their own. But all I can say is I can't praise Assistant Chief Monroe more than the way he handled it. He conducted himself, and we did not miss a beat in one iota, and that is something that I think anyone, in an assistant role, he showed his integrity and his ability was quite evident. In relation to another item that was also in relation to one of the items that Chief Monroe handled was Michael Wheat from our Public Works Department. We had an accident that happened on River Road that was pretty pretty bad in that capacity. Staff handled it from police all the way down to public works and so forth, and fire handled it exemplary. Michael Wheat responded to my late night call. And it was after an 8:30 call. He immediately was able to dispatch some assistance to help with the cleanup situation, and then followed up the next day. We went back up, and again, did an absolute job, was very accommodating, without hesitation, without anything, just was like, yep, we'll go do it, we'll get it taken care of. They did it very well. Another shout out is to John Villanueva, our finance director, and his staff, and particularly Mark. They've been working many weekends the last few weeks as they prep for the audit. That is a heavy lift, and they are finally, I want to say, pretty close to caught up from his stint when he was helping out the town in that capacity. But they've, without question, come in to do what they need to do to get it ready, and our audit is currently underway. So I wanted to say thank you from that staff, but also to all of town council staff, again, for your grace and your understanding for my situation. It's not easy. This was never something I wanted to do. I, again, will help in any way that I can now and after the fact. It was a tough decision, but I greatly appreciate the grace and the understanding of my situation. So.
Okay. Thank you, Town Manager. Town Attorney.
Okay, so, we just ended our legislative session. There's close to 1,900 bills filed and a total of 234 bills that passed. And so like last year, what I would like to do is do a summary of those bills that particularly impact you as a town. For example, there's one bill that regardless of whether the property tax passes or not, is requiring that local governments conduct a budget reduction exercise where you implement strategies to try to reduce your budget by 10%. That's something that goes into effect January 1st, regardless of whether the property tax. And so those are new bills that I think as a town, you just need to be aware of. And so if you're okay with that, I'd like to propose doing a short presentation, no more than an hour, to discuss. I'm just kidding. No more than 10 minutes, I promise, to discuss those new bills.
What was that, 10 minutes?
I don't want to put it on the record, so 10 minutes. 20.
Okay, got it. Anything else?
That's it.
All right, thank you, Town Attorney. I'm going to go ahead and go first. First of all, I want to congratulate Vice Mayor Sandlin and Councilman Benefield on your reelection. I'm happy to work with you 2 more years. I have to give kudos to something Joe said. I know a lot of you don't work with our staff here in the town, but I'm telling you, we have the best staff available, and they make things happen. They make our job so much easier, and I just want to thank all of our town staff for what you do for us. The last thing is for the town manager, hurricane season is coming soon, June. Would you, huh? Yeah, it's tornado season, yeah. And what I would like to do, I'm hearing issues with waste management every day. And where I'm going with this, is it possible for us to go by neighborhood and pick up in yard waste to get ready for hurricane season? Like pick a neighborhood, one day we're coming through that neighborhood and picking up. The following work, we're going to a different neighborhood. But if you're missed, you're missed. And just to get ahead for hurricane season.
I will default to Mr. Croce on that, on the availability of that and what can we put together for a
And
schedule.
I'm not asking for an answer. I just want to get it in some kind of planning stage, see if it's possible.
Okay.
Yep. Last thing is, I'd like to thank everybody who came out tonight, and appreciate you coming. Got a lot of hard decisions coming towards us, and thank you. And let's see, who talks the least? Councilman Vogel.
I?
No. Mr. Taylor.
Second a lot of that stuff. Yes, that's a good thought about the yard trash. I'd like to see how we can hold Waste Management a little more accountable and get, right? Farmers Market, we just had it. Great weather, good food. It's always a good time to see local people coming together and doing their thing. There's a lot of, there's just great conversation that come out of those. I don't know if I'm looking forward to this next search, but I am, but I'm not, because I think we're losing the best, and I'm still trying to get you to stay. Green Cove, firefighters, chief, I mean, it's going on. This is what you guys work, train. And so I appreciate y'all keeping us safe. Please don't burn at your house. Burn ban. And it's another transition, but I'm excited, and I'm excited here for the residents, people, you guys. I think the council has really been listening, trying to soak in everything, and please continue your suggestions. Please continue wants, needs, desires, because it is hitting home, and every decision that we do, I think we keep that top of mind, and it helps. So I think that's all that I have.
Okay, Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, happy birthday, Councilman Benefield. I hope it's been a good day, and congratulations on your reelection. As always, I too thank you all for being here tonight, particularly those of you who are in person, but anybody who listens online. And a lot of people tell me regularly that they come in and out online or listen to the whole meeting, and I'm appreciative of that. They make good comments, and it shows that they care, just like the rest of us do. To all the volunteers who went with Friends of the Town Parks, OPO Park Town Parks, Saturday and cleaned up Clark Park, thank you. It was a beautiful day. It was a beautiful time to be outside, not too hot, which is nice, but you did something really valuable for your community, and thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Taylor, for doing your shout outs on town staff, because like the mayor, I agree, we have absolutely the best staff, bar none, in this state. They are kind, they are always willing to help, they show up, they keep trying, and they are fantastic, so thank you for that. Quickly, our policies and procedure meeting, committee meeting is on Friday, May the 1st at noon. We also have a Culture and Recreation Committee tomorrow night at 5:30 in this room. And so anybody who can, please feel free to come out. And that's all I have. Thank you very much.
Got it. Thank you, Vice Mayor. Councilman Taylor.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd also like to, on the record, congratulate Vice Mayor Sandlin, Councilman Benefield on your elections, and glad to serve with you all again for the next quite some time, I would imagine. That's a great thing. I also thought that was an interesting comment about the yard trash. I wasn't aware of that. That's kind of a curious thing, because I don't ever have yard trash, but then when you do in the springtime, which is, by the way, I can't think of a better place to live than Orange Park in the springtime. But you do get a bunch of it. So if there's a cap on that, I don't know. But that needs to be maybe reviewed. Circling back to the town manager, I don't really like change. I mean, I'm a slow and steady wins the race kind of guy. But I think change can be a great thing, too. And I think James brought us Joe and all his ideas, and if we can capture that in the new person, him or her, I think it'll be a wonderful future, bright future for the town of Orange Park. And then lastly, I think we should all pray for our firefighters. That fire out there is incredible. My understanding is there's probably, the chief knows better than I, perhaps, I'm sure, but I think there's 200 to 400 firefighters out there. There's National Guard and everybody, so if y'all could just keep them in your prayers, then they can use them. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Benefield.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Taylor, it's been a pleasure to work with you. You've brought fresh ideas. I think we saw that in the interview, and we thought that's what we want. Public Works, police, fire, I heard nothing but great things about everybody's interactions this week. Town staff, you guys are the best. It's been a fun couple of weeks for me. We had Election Day, followed by Tax Day. And my five-year-old's birthday was Sunday, and my birthday's today. So we're kind of coming off of this adrenaline high, and we're going to maybe relax a little bit through the summer. Thank you to you guys for showing up. It matters. This town matters. This is a great place to live. I will step into the arena for this town anytime, anywhere. This place is great. Thank you.
That's it?
That's it.
Okay, do I have a motion
So moved.
to adjourn?
So moved.
Okay.
Second.